Let me just say that we found out that Lauren was asked to perform by a group of child pornographers, and they became Satanists. And there were sexual perversions that it's almost impossible for her to talk about without breaking down, and sexual abuse. She had 3 children with the Satanists. The first 2 were used in snuff films, and they were ultimately killed. A snuff film is a pornographic film which some people get their kicks by killing the victim, and her children were killed. The 3rd child was torched and sacrificed during a satanic ritual. She was tied up and held while they burned her 3rd child in front of her. She believes they killed the baby to control her. She is terrified of them, and that is why she is wearing a disguise. For goodness sakes, Paul, tell me about this. You have said, I am a member of this belief, and here's a lady telling you a story that is the most horrific story. In reading the material alone, I just sat there, and until I saw newspaper articles about things that are happening right here in the state of Connecticut. Is there anyone who hasn't seen those articles? I thought I was reading some kind of a far-out horror story.
I find it disgusting if it is true. I want proof. And also, as I mentioned this lady in the beginning, I read the book. It is horrific, but I want to know why she stood by and saw one of her children sacrificed. And why would she go through having 3 children if the first 2 were snuffed out? It makes no sense to me. It's like totally illogical.
I don't want to let that go by without answering that. I have given the details in the book. The police do have the records. It is recorded. The police.
Are you saying I can prove it?
Yes.
Okay.
Paul, what religion did you have in growing up?
I grew up a Catholic.
And
how do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel right now as you're standing?
I'm angry because I think we have a hard time raising our children the way with a mother and father, and the way the situation is, and having this to cope with is. I just have a hard time with it.
Almost more than one can tolerate, if you feel the way I felt. Almost more than you can tolerate.
I was just wanting to ask you about the collar you're wearing. I'm kind of appalled because I was brought up a Roman Catholic, and my upbringing has taught me that that collar is a symbol of the Roman Catholic Church, and you certainly don't symbolize anything that the Roman Catholics advocate.
I consider myself a legitimate priest of my church. And as far as it bothering people, well, too bad. I consider the Roman Catholic Church a sham. I'm a historian. You can't... There's just so much proof that Jesus was not God. You know, like I mentioned, the Council of Nicaea, by vote he was decided to be divine, and by vote he was decided, or it was decided just how divine he was, with Constantine presiding over it. There's so much historical evidence, so why should I care about some man who never was considered a deity long before that?
Let me catch a grip, because as I told you, I read this stuff, and I stood there and I said, how in heaven's name? And I said, get me somebody who's an authority in this. That man is sitting in front of you, Tom Wedge. Does this happen, or has somebody invented this and snookered me for a talk show? Does this happen?
You bet it happens.
Darn!
You bet it happens. I've been directly, indirectly involved in over 200 cases, ranging from simple graffiti to the last case that I was involved in, where the body was never found. We found the legs of the person that was used in a ritualistic killing.
So this is not something that somebody has fed us a bill of goods on.
Absolutely
not. And her
not.
Story is not a...
And there's documentation, plenty of documentation of arrests that's been made with infants. The bones, the remains that's been found in boxes, that they've been used in satanic rituals. There's plenty of documentation. If you want me to go out and get it out of my briefcase, I will, and bring it in here to show that they've offered up young people, children, because it is the ultimate sacrifice.
So we stand a good chance of that woman sitting in front of us that we've disguised having had 2 children snuffed out and 1 ritualistic killed by Satanists.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.